Hi, everyone. My name is Kristin Snowden. I'm a licensed therapist in California and life coach. And I am here to talk about all the things that we wish we would have taken classes in growing up, which is how to do relationships with people. Or what this more turns out to be is how to navigate when things get messy. Because when you're dealing with flawed human beings, things get messy. We usually act out of our wrecked nervous system, and things don't go as gracefully or as healthily as we'd hope they would. Sometimes we extend the suffering. And this is a webinar to really help you take mindful, purposeful steps to go in a different direction and get through the pain to the transformation. So today we're going to be talking about self-care and trauma healing during your relationship crisis. As many of you chiming in are indeed in crisis. Maybe it's due to your partner's infidelity. There have been a lot of lies or emotional abuse going on, treated or untreated or known or unknown addiction, substance use disorders, damaging compulsive sexual behaviors, porn use, etc. A lot of blaming and shaming and trauma from the hands of a trusted loved one. So that's the type of relationship crises that we're going to talk about. And I know many who chime in, you're lost, you're hurt, you're scared, your brain is in just this exhausted crisis mode, not knowing who to trust, how to move forward. You never got a manual on how to do this stuff. So I am just here to take my 15 years of experience to tell you what tends to be the healthiest paths to take to move through the pain and out of like what I call this purgatory stuck suffering frozen stage and kind of move towards the healing process a little bit better. So first and foremost, I want you to understand the mind, body, and emotional impacts of a relationship crisis, of betrayal trauma. A lot of the acts of infidelity, addiction are done with a high level of chronic lying, manipulation. No, there's nothing wrong in our marriage. If you just didn't nag me, um, what's up with those blocked phone calls? You would see maybe blocked calls or someone kind of hiding their phone, maybe have big gaps of time where you're wondering where they are or why they're acting certain ways. Regarding substance abuse, you could feel like they kind of are out of it, but you don't understand why. Or you find bottles in the garage or hidden somewhere else or in your partner's car. There's just a lot of lying and sneaking around and double life living when someone is acting outside of the relationship. And like I said, that goes for anything, whether it's an affair, sexual compulsive sexual behavior, porn use, or substance use issues. So there's a lot of damage that is done when you trust someone, bring them into your life, say, hey, you're going to be my partner, right? We're going to kind of give each other the benefit of the doubt. When I make big decisions or when I'm stuck, I'm going to talk to you and you're going to help me. And when we have problems like how to parent or what to do with our finances or how to move forward in our careers, we're going to kind of engage each other and consult one another and move forward. But we find out that our partner has this whole other secret life that they've kept from us. That's one big trauma that damages us. But the second big one is that in order to protect that secret life behind the veil, they do a lot of really emotional, physical, damaging behaviors to you, the betrayed partner. There's really basic ones like financial betrayal. So your finances could be in crisis because money was spent, or better yet, once the infidelity is uncovered or the addiction is uncovered, there's financial stress about needing to hire professional help or possibly sending your partner to treatment or getting help for you and the kids or living separate lifestyles. There's logistical struggles, right? Like I just said, if you decide to separate, logistics of being single or not having your partner's help or having them physically in the home anymore, where will they go? Where will you go? What do we tell the kids? What do we do? What do we tell the community? Trust and judgment are going to be really difficult issues. You are going to struggle because of all the lying and sneaking around. Like, I didn't see this behavior from my own partner. Who else is lying? Who else has secret, life that's going on behind my back? How many other people kind of nod to my face, but then do this secret behavior behind my back? How many other nefarious actors are going around and doing this kind of stuff behind my back? Is the world non-monogamous? Does everybody lie and sneak around? So we really lose our bearings and our footing on who to trust. What is trust? Um, Judgment. There's a lot of judgment in our culture about, oh, if my partner just cheated on me, I would just kick that person to the curb, and have lots of really bold black and white statements without really appreciating all the nuances of, but I actually do love this person. We have children, we have a life, we have a history. Um, maybe your betraying partner wants to repair, and you want to hang around and see if that person can actually change. There's a lot of external and, quite frankly, internal judgment, your own judgment about choices you're making, because there's a lot of expectations that people have. I expect that someone is going to be monogamous, and if they don't respect me, then they're out of my life. So there's that, you struggle a lot with that judgment. The mind, body, emotional impact can also be from just this like, I'm wondering, what is this whole addiction thing? I mean, no one even mentioned this stuff. I didn't even know there was this kind of porn out there, or there was these kind of avenues and websites and apps to go act out. Like, I've never even heard of this. This sounds like a really bad, soap opera. So quickly betrayed partners are trying to educate themselves on what is addiction, how does someone get recovery, get their bearings on what does this look like, how do you seek help. And so these are the impacts that keep our nervous system constantly on edge of just thinking, okay, there's someone out there. It feels like our nervous system receives it as, there's someone out there trying to murder me, and how do I stay safe? What kind of weapons do I need? What kind of fortress do I need to build? How do I need to keep my kids safe? What about money? How do I need to behave and act? What kind of questions do I need to ask the person? What do I need to do to keep myself safe? So really, the biggest consequence is I'm always on edge. I'm not allowed to be me, like Kristin, everyday Kristin. Hey, what's my grocery list? What do I need to do at work? What do the kids need for school? Oh, yeah, there's dentist appointments and doctor's appointments and other social events that I'm supposed to be attending to. All of those basic everyday things just go out the door, because those are for brains that can handle a multitude of things. No, when you're in survival and you're in crisis mode, the world gets much smaller, and you get tunnel vision, and your lizard brain just takes over, and you are in a constant state of hypervigilance. And then when your hypervigilance gets exhausted, you lose your temper, you can rage, you can shut down and like sleep too much or forget too many things. Some people will start abusing substances. Um, some people will isolate, etc. So these are all the mind, body, physical, emotional impacts. Physical impacts can be that you get an STD from your partner. You have lots of chronic issues related to a nervous system that is completely wrecked, like gastrointestinal issues, panic attacks, trouble sleeping, etc. Those are really common. So that is something that I first want you to understand, is this is what's going on here when you're in this relationship crisis, because you're really going to need that information. And I have so many other videos, and so does sexandrelationshiphealing.com, about what is betrayal trauma, steps to take in the immediate crisis, first steps to do to manage the crisis, etc. And you really, 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 as part of your self-care, have to educate yourself. What just happened? Um, the second step is you have to start setting up, where do you go from here? Your goals, what are your needs? What are your boundaries? And this is partially going to be done with the help, hopefully, of a support group of people who kind of know, they've been through this before, they've been down this path, unfortunately, and they can provide you some help, or some professionals that can help you with this information. But you have to start figuring out, okay, a bomb just went off in my home and has essentially destroyed everything. What do I need to do to rebuild? What do and what does that rebuilding look like? Do I rebuild on my own, or am I going to explore rebuilding with my partner? Who is the support team that I want to consult with while I'm figuring out how to rebuild this home? Because again, remember, my brain is hijacked. And I don't mean that in a negative, bad thing, like you're out of your mind, you're unstable, but really owning that truth releases shame and blame and judgment. So the sooner you can just own, I am in crisis, my brain is in crisis, I'm going to need to consult other people, have a support system around me, ask simple questions, and just kind of sort all these things out to switch my brain out of crisis mode and back into like everyday Kristin mode. You're just going to need to do that while you're sorting to figure out how to rebuild this house. The next thing is, what do I need from my partner, right? So I'm setting up, what do I need to rebuild my own house? But then what do I want our communal space to look like? Do I need my partner to move out? Do I need my partner to start going to 12-step meetings? Do I need my partner to show me his or her phone, show me his or her location? I talk about all those first steps to do after the crisis is exploded. And so it's like, does your partner need to go to treatment? Do we need to go to couples therapy, or maybe should couples therapy happen farther down the line? Do we need to have him or her start going to meetings? Just other things. Do I need the person to change their environment, shut down their social media accounts, put on security systems on their internet, etc.? These are all things that professionals and support groups can help you sort through, but it is your job to start figuring out, what do you need. And so I think, yeah, so set up your goals, needs, and boundaries. The other thing is, what do you need from your partner, as far as, are there consequences if there's relapse, right? So this kind of plan that, okay, the bomb just exploded. You say you want to stay in this marriage or not, we don't know. But if there is a relapse, or if there's continued lying, sneaking around behaviors, these are going to be the consequences. And it's easier if you write them out. They can be flexible. You can change them. You can add to them. You can take away from them. This isn't like putting it in concrete and stone and it's permanent, because in a crisis situation, it's fluid and things change and circumstances change, but it's better to just start somewhere. So that is all a part of setting up goals, needs, and boundaries. Are there non-negotiables? Do you want to start pursuing what we call like a full therapeutic disclosure? And again, professionals can help you with that. Third step, after understanding the consequences, setting up your goals, needs, and boundaries, the third step is seek professional help. For better or worse, even if there's financial stressors because of your partner's acting out behaviors, you usually do need to spend some money on getting professionals who know what they're doing, who are experts in this field, because it makes a really big difference. in my very biased opinion, right? Because I'm one of those experts. I will say a lot of these experts, and especially in the world of addiction recovery, I feel like all of us go out of our way to offer a lot of free material. We have the sexandrelationshiphealing.com. There's online like Wheaton Glen communities. There's 12-step groups that are all free. Al-Anon, ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics, all these kind of Codependents Anonymous, all these YouTube channels. I have a YouTube channel, KristinSnowden.com. So there are ways to maybe mix and match free expert resources or well-trained resources with a one time a week therapist who specializes in addiction recovery, betrayal trauma, sex addiction recovery, etc. There is a strong financial impact of uncovering your partner's betrayal and kind of metaphorically blowing up your whole house. There is a cost to rebuilding it, but I think you want professionals. You want to consult with the professionals when you're trying to rebuild it to make sure you're rebuilding it healthily and you're thinking about all these contingencies that you just never even knew of because you've never had to rebuild your metaphorical house that's been exploded, that's been torn down. When you see a professional, I'd encourage you, again, to make sure the person is a addiction recovery specialist, betrayal trauma, etc., CSAT. I personally feel I have a recent video I released on the 3 heavy hitters of betrayal trauma, like the things that kind of keep you in purgatory in a state of suffering the most, keep you locked in a place where you're not moving forward and healing. And the 3 heavy hitters are, I'd like to see you working on the trauma. So how to manage your physical state of being traumatized, the stories you're telling yourself around the trauma, the shame that you might experience from being betrayed, being rejected, being abandoned, not knowing what your partner was doing behind your back, and the grief and loss, the just feelings of, I thought I knew this person. I thought we were going to build this life together. I thought this is what love was and how this person viewed me and how I viewed this person. And now it's all gone. It doesn't mean it can't be rebuilt and a new story can't be written, but you have to first acknowledge what has died, metaphorically. Also, I find, and I have other videos on trauma treatment, and the 4 common things you have to work on when you've been severely traumatized is acknowledge what has happened. That's just not okay. All the various things that have happened to you and at you that was not okay. It's how you were robbed of the truth, the emotional abuse, all the things that I listed under understanding the impact. Have a trusted person hear you and validate you. So it could be a therapist, it could be a support community, it could be workshops, etc. So I hear you, I agree, this isn't okay. Third is to go over the traumatic event or various traumatic events with downregulation tools, which I'm going to talk with you about in a moment. What we call that is like taxing the memory. Science shows that if you kind of go over the trauma over and over again and the stories around the trauma, use the downregulation tools such as like deep breathing or tapping, etc., it takes the physiological survival lizard brain charge out of the story so that it can just integrate into just, this is just part of my story. This is just in the long timeline of who I am and what's happened in my life. This just has become integrated with and this is, one of the really sad parts of my life. And then the 4th thing is you have to be able to create a story of empowerment around the trauma that has happened at you, to you, the way you've been victimized. And again, I have other webinars on that related to trauma, rewiring your trauma brain, healing from trauma, betrayal trauma, etc. So the 4th thing is developing a very specific self-care down regulation routine, or some people might need an up regulation routine. And when I'm saying up and down regulation, I'm saying our nervous system has lots of different electrical, hormonal, chemical impulses, and it's telling my heart to beat, and it's telling my eyes to see, and it's telling my digestion system to digest food, and it's telling the cells in my body to fight off foreign things in like viruses and bacteria and fighting and killing them off so I can all perform like a normal human being. When I'm in a state of crisis, all that stuff is going to suffer and struggle. So we need to purposefully integrate down regulation to calm our nervous system, and or sometimes, like I said, if you're a dissociator, a sleeper, ignoring phone calls, a shutdown, long periods in your day where you don't know where you are or where you're going or have memory of what's happened, you might need to integrate some up regulation things to kind of bring you back into connection. I always tell clients what happened to you is not your fault. It's that happened to you. You're not responsible for the ways you were betrayed and lied to and hurt. However, now that this trauma has occurred and you are now in this crisis state, which you did not choose, it has, for better or worse, become your responsibility to get yourself out of it. And so, what I always tell clients is your nervous system and your state of relationship crisis and your physical state is very unique. The example that I use is, or that Scott Brassert would say one time, is if a race car driver was driving just on normal streets and he or she got in a car accident, his nervous system would probably experience it a little bit different than I would, because it just all depends on how my body records trauma, what is traumatic, how blindsided did I feel, how powerless do I feel to fix the situation, everything. So there's no specific path I can give you. Just wake up every morning, breathe 3 times, and then go for a walk, and then read a book, and then journal. So every nervous system is going to have a different formula. So one of your responsibilities when you're developing this self-care down regulation routine is you have to start figuring out what works and what doesn't work. So experiencing betrayal can cause extreme emotional flooding, make self-regulation difficult. It's that roller coaster, up, down, up. One minute you might feel a connective moment with your betraying partner. Next minute you're like inside your head plotting his or her murder. Like, how do I just get him or her off this earth? And you'll feel like this Jekyll and Hyde, and it'll feel really out of control. And I want to give you some tools on how to get back out of survival mode, out of roller coaster mode, and into more like, okay, I can assert some agency. That's one of the biggest goals here is trauma takes your power away. Trauma disconnects you from your body and others. And so the goal of most of these tools is to give you a sense of agency of like, okay, I have perseverating thoughts all day long. I'm just going over these text messages and these arguments that I said to him or her, or I'm going over how I caught him or her on the website and our argument. And so then I can't focus at work. I'm yelling at my kids. And I want you in those moments to say, oh yeah, Kristin told me there was these options I could start using to bring agency back into my life, to bring choice. I had choice taken from me, and now I need to bring my choices back to me. And that's from developing a self-care down-regulation routine. So first, there's 3 big things. First, I like you to start practicing some kind of empathy and self-compassion work. I have some other webinars on that going into detail, like empathy and self-compassion. If you looked up Kristin Snowden, you could find them. I also think doing some parts work is really helpful. And I talk about that in other webinars too. But it's a really quick snapshot of that is I could have just found out that my partner lied about something again, and I'm enraged. I'm throwing things, I'm screaming. And then when it settles down, I might start judging myself. Oh my God, when did I become this raging, angry person? I'm never going to be happy again. I'm never going to feel peace again. And parts work can help you go inside and connect with that rage part. Because really what that rage part is it's a protector. It's trying to defend you. It is appropriately getting angry at what you should be angry about and give it a chance to like share its story. Why is it angry? Why is it upset? And then there's a part that's like maybe feels pathetic, like this whole world has taken over and I have no control in this world. So there's this like sad, scared child in me that feels stuck and feels powerless, and let that part share its story. And then there's a part inside that can kind of love both of them, realize the roles that they're taking, and kind of exploring, all right, how do we move forward from this? There's the scared child, there's the raging person. How do we move into like who I want Kristin to be? So it's really moving out of judgment and more into like empathy and compassion. There's lots of different exercises. I'm like skimming over this, but these that I could do a whole workshop on that type of stuff. Mindfulness, developing some kind of mindfulness practice. Really, what that's just saying is paying attention more. Your brain is hijacked. It's going to have a really hard time paying attention to where you put your keys or the deadline you were supposed to, turn some paperwork in, or you were supposed to return that phone call or some kind of detail. Your brain is going to have a really, really, really hard time paying attention when it is in crisis. So mindfulness is really just figuring out anything that helps you get back into your body, into a state where you can even just like hear me and listen to me. Like, how many of you during this webinar have you just darted off and thought about, oh my gosh, that phone call? Oh my gosh, I can't believe he or she did this. Oh my gosh. And it's the mindfulness practices moving back into like, no, I'm just going to look at Kristin's face. No, I'm just going to feel my butt in the seat. No, I'm just going to kind of take a deep breath, kind of look up, straight up. That can kind of reset the nervous system sometimes and plug back in. Be purposeful and mindful of paying attention. That's bringing agency and choice back in. Reconnect with my body, reconnect with my intentions. Remember those goals that I wrote out, those non-negotiables, those boundaries. Oh yeah, that's what I'm moving toward. What am I feeling, right? That parts work, anger, judgment, pathetic, scared, all those. That's all part of these mindfulness practices. And then, I was going to share, let's see if I can share my screen. I have what I call my menu of down and up regulation techniques. So this is just what I call this laundry list of things. I'll try to remember to post it on my website, Kristin Snowden, under my free resources. But this is a really short, easy to access list. I just kind of call it my menu of items where, okay, what do I need to do? Do I need to do big sighs? Like, sometimes I do that. I notice that when I'm getting ready in the morning and my body feels stressed, I do this natural sighing system. That is a calming reset system. Going to therapy, does that help? Getting, punching a punching bag, screaming into pillows, doing some kind of yoga or sitting and meditating. I'm not a sit and meditate person. I try to do guided meditation, but like my nervous system needs to do something physical. So maybe I could do more of like a yoga, being in my body while I'm moving my body, dance, stand on one foot. You have to move to a higher functioning system by standing on one foot, having some kind of spiritual religious practice, animal therapy, animals, petting, hugging, caring for them can bring you back into your body. If you're like a down-regulated person, maybe you need meaning you're a dissociator, sleeper, disconnector. You need to pick some things that bring you back to life again. Going for walks, being out in nature, having the sun on your body, etc. That's a list of things that when you're trying to bring agency back into your life, it's your responsibility to try these various things and bring them into a daily routine. Okay, when I am feeling overwhelmed, I'm going to go for a walk. When I need to make sure I'm at least trying to sleep a certain amount of hours, but not too many, right? But definitely not only 3 hours a day. And sleep is really important because that's where our brain reconsolidates. It's where our brain, starts making sense of the madness of the past 18 hours, etc. It cleans things out. Exercise. I think I said eating right. That can be really important. And sometimes medication, right? Sometimes we need to use medication to help what we aren't unable to do organically. And that's okay. There's no judgment or nothing bad about needing psychotropic medications. You can talk to your doctor about that. All right. Build your support network. That is number 5. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Build your support network. You will need a group of people to consult with. This is where you're similar to your addict partner. Addicts, except for very different reasons, addicts just make poor choices. They don't put them through the typical filter system that we do. We consider like who we are, how other people would experience us, how people, our choices impact other people. Addicts really struggle with that for various reasons. When we're in a state of crisis, and our body's overwhelmed and our lizard brain has hijacked everything, we too will struggle with that. We'll struggle with making the next best choice. We'll struggle with downregulating. We'll struggle with remembering who we are and what our goals are. We'll struggle with seeing the big picture. We'll struggle with knowing if we'll ever get out of this, or if this is going to be the rest of our life, and then kind of give us those feelings of hopelessness. So we need groups, we need support groups, we need workshops, we need friends, we need online communities, we need 12-step groups, to help us make the next best choices and to also hold us accountable to those lists of goals and non-negotiables and boundaries and all the things that we said we needed to rebuild our house and feel safe again, and the things we asked from our partner to feel safe again. So not only that, we need them for accountability and we need them for healthy decision making, but we need humans for healthy co-regulation. I always joke that we have these superpowers in us. I can come into a room and I can make my arms have really big gestures and really loud voices and use really big words or cuss a lot, because I've been known to do that every once in a while. And that will upregulate your stress hormones, your heart rate, and suddenly you will match my heart rate and my stress and my upregulated state. Or I could come in, just use this calm, what I call like Glinda the Good Witch. Like, what are we doing today? How are we going? Like, what's going on in life? What do we want to do? Eye contact. And suddenly you could be upregulated, but my downregulated state will start matching yours. And so we need physical proximity. And this is the tough thing about being betrayed. We have just been harmed by another human's lies, sneaking around, asserting to be something that they're not. And so I'm asking you to do what would be considered like the most scary thing you've been asked to do, because I'm asking you, yeah, you've been betrayed by this person. This person is not healthy, safe, trustworthy, but I need you to go find a few others who are. And so I understand that's a big ask, but I swear there are several reasons. And I just don't really know anybody who makes it through this live without the help of a supportive community. So we need them for co-regulation. We need physical proximity and physical contact. We need safe face expressions and body language and tone of voice to cue safety. We need them to help us with decision making and accountability. We need them to help us rebuild our own trust and vulnerability and instincts. There's lots and lots of reasons. And then I'm just going to draw this all together and say planning and scheduling these self-care routines are going to be paramount to getting through this crisis. The parallels I'm going to use to help you understand this is, I've mentioned this before, the military. When the military is preparing to deploy, to go out and, go to their war environments, they drill over and over and over again. They keep a very regimented environment. We wake up at 6, we eat at 7, we get dressed in this specific uniform. All of you wear the same thing. Then we go do this type of exercise. Then you go to do this training class. Then we prepare to, build our weapon this way. And then we march. And then we collect together again to eat at this cafeteria. There is a strong emphasis on routine and structure, because the idea is when the S hits the fan, when they are in those environments of wartime scenarios where they should feel like they're in a constant state of crisis, threat, fear, they fall back on routine. They fall back on their community, their battalion, their platoon, their group, and they fall back on routine. We drilled it a million times. I can do it in my sleep. I actually don't need my high functioning Kristin brain. My lizard brain can actually put my weapon together and go out and follow orders, for better or worse. You could have criticism about it, but that's the idea, is that if you build in a structure and a routine to this process, when your brain gets hijacked and is in crisis mode, it gives you something to fall back on. And plus, by the way, addicts, when they're getting recovery, they encourage something similar. 90 meetings in 90 days. Get phone numbers, call them, call your sponsor every day, read a bit of the big book every day, start exercising every day, pray or meditate every day. The more you work it into your schedule, the more your addict brain will not hijack and take you off to the races again. And for better or worse, it's not your fault you've been thrown into this crisis. But if you want to get through it, you have to start developing a plan. More structure, the better. Create a schedule and a list of what you're going to do. This is my support group. These are the people I can call when I need help. These are the meetings I'm going to go to. This is the therapist and the appointments that I'm going to see. I'm going to do group work, couples work, etc. I'm going to work out this many days a week. I'm going to make sure I sleep this much or go to bed at this time and not watch this much TV or not watch this much social media. I'm going to listen to these podcasts when I go for my 30-minute walk. This is the boundaries chart that I'm going to look at over every day. I'm going to journal this every day. I'm going to do yoga. I'm going to sing and dance to music, etc. I'm going to sit and pet my dog or spend this time with my kids. You have these choices. Bring them back into your life. What happened to you is not your fault, but now you have choices of how you want to handle it. And I'm going to close with just letting you know that I have a workshop that's opening up January 10th. We're going to be doing Brene Brown's Daring Greatly. So you can find the information on kristinsnowden.com. And also, I have my YouTube has almost reached 30,000 subscribers. So I'm encouraging everybody to subscribe to Kristin Snowden on YouTube if you haven't, because I'm going to be offering a pretty big gift to everybody who's a subscriber, to just say thank you. I'm proud of these free resources that we offer all of you. And I want to offer a gift to you also to celebrate this milestone. That's it.
Good stuff. I have to share, you co-authored the Life Anonymous, and you really are the driver behind it, but I share this book regularly, and I think it's helpful for anyone, but for partners, I shared it again with someone the other day, because I said, then you'll have a similar life. First of all, it's just good life living, like it's good skills. And then you also have this language, that can be shared with someone who is in addiction and working the 12 steps. And I was cracking up when you were talking about, the routine. And I was like, yeah, and an addict, I can't tell you how often I get, calls or emails with, people, they've just dabbled in all of this stuff. They haven't created the structure to be successful. And so the addict brain is again hijacking and going, yeah, no, I didn't really like that 12-step group. And, they're always finding reasons why they don't need to do whatever it is that is successful for those of us who choose to be in recovery. Yeah, so much good stuff. And we would welcome your questions. Type them in the Q&A at the bottom of the screen. But you mentioned connection. Our drop-in groups for addicts, and there's separate ones for betrayed partner. Hugely important. Eddie Caparucci on a webinar shared this from Gabor Mate, and this is like exactly what you're talking about. Trauma is not what happens to you. Trauma is what happens inside of you because of what happened to you. So trauma is not the event that inflicted the wound. So trauma is not sexual abuse or whatever. It's trauma is the wound that you sustained as a result. And so he goes on, but if trauma is the wound, event, or circumstances that happen to you, guess what? It never unhappens. But if trauma is the wound that occurs inside of you that you continue to carry, that trauma can be healed at any time. And I love that because, you said it, this
Brings
happened,
agency
it's not
back.
our fault. Yes, but we can change things. We do have, I find this to be empowering, and we do have an empowered women's retreat in person that will be starting
Oh,
in January.
cool.
I know I'm super excited about it
That's
from a codependent
awesome.
lens. Yeah. So we
That's
have
good to
one
know.
scheduled
Okay.
for the eastern side of the country in January, and then we've got one in Texas in March, and you can find them on the Seeking Integrity, website. So yes, limited,
Awesome.
but our family specialist, Tamara Cooper, I mean, her voice quivers when she talks about this. She's so passionate about, having this healing opportunity. So those are just, things, but we would welcome questions. But I have some, I love that all the things that you were talking about, down regulating and up regulating, because I thought, yeah, there are some people that just go to bed and sleep. They need to be up, regulated, and but my dog is underneath my desk, and I took my shoe off and was
Right.
petting him until he pulled his foot. He was like, that's enough, but yeah, I mean, but for me, and I'm with you, I struggle to do, like, I tried to do the um guided meditations, and it felt like a chore, and I was like, that's not the point.
Hmm.
I did it for a month and all
Hmm.
that, but even just taking my shoes off and putting my feet on the ground and paying attention, like all of that, the mindfulness of paying attention to that. I've got the 4-7-8 breathing. I can do that in 2 minutes. Guess what? 2 minutes to re-regulate is hugely beneficial to me, and I do it. I mean, those are, some techniques I love. When I'm outside, I pay attention. During COVID, I was like, I have to be more intentional. And so, not just going out for a run, it's like I'm looking around, I am paying attention,
Right.
and that shifts things for me. So, like, all of those techniques that you were sharing, it's like, and you said find something that works. I'm like, find multiple things, because if you can't go for a walk right
Right.
now, because like I got a meeting in 10 minutes, what can I do? And having, a handful of things that, I can try all of these things, really make, a difference. We have our drop-in groups, as I mentioned, those, and we Tonglen. Yeah, like there are so many resources. And I do hear from partners that, they're full of shame, or I'm not like those other, people. And then they start and they go, oh my gosh, it isn't just a bunch of people, whining and complaining about things. They're looking for, how do I navigate this, that happened. And I've had multiple people, unfortunately, that have found out, like you talked about grief, that have shared, they found out after, I'm using pronouns, he was the addict, she is the partner, just for ease. But, after he dies, they have
Hmm.
discovery. And so they've got the grief
Hmm.
of the physical person being gone. And then this whole thing of being turned upside down, so there's some really, but you know what? They can heal. They can understand that it wasn't all a lie, and so I just not giving up on the fact that there is healing, and I mean, even I was thinking when you're talking about it, and you mentioned it too, building a support network. The scariest thing is, how do I trust anybody if I was so wrong
Hmm.
about this person? But you said, just be willing, and we're humans, we will fail each other. But having a little network of people, having your little tribe of people that you can, connect with, that can offer support to you, and give you real input, not, for me, it's really important to have people that will tell it to me straight, not just, coddle me. I need support, but I also, I need people that are willing to go, you may want to think about that differently, or go in a different direction. It's just helpful, because I often can have my lens down here going,
All the
"Wah,"
time. We have
yeah.
our
So
own biased filter and only consulting others. is going to pull us out of that. There's
Yes.
some, but yeah, I know it's betrayed partners. I understandably they're so hesitant, but I mean, that's one of my favorite things to do is run workshops for small groups of betrayed partners. And I think the most refreshing thing is like they finally don't feel like they have to filter everything they're saying, right? They can finally
Yes.
be like, yeah, so my husband's 6-year porn addiction, which they
Hmm.
can't say in really any other environment without getting judgment or they know the partner, and so they're afraid that their friend's going to judge the partner forever or not be able to accept them back into their life should they reconcile.
Yes.
People just don't understand addiction. um
Correct.
so things like that, it's really important. It's really important for this type of person and what they're going through.
Yes, and you can never unsay it. So, once you've told, your entire family, then
Right.
Thanksgiving dinner is really awkward, because
Right.
everybody, and you're right, most people don't understand that addiction, just like alcoholism isn't alcohol tastes so great. It's about escape and numbing out. But the personal nature of this, that it's such a betrayal,
Right.
on that intimate level, you know, but it's all hurtful, and there was something else you were talking. Oh, the financial. You talked about financial, and I wrote down, for many people, the cost of not getting help, not getting the right help, exceeds the cost of getting help. Yes, there's a financial outlay, for getting help, but
Hmm.
we have free, low cost, and then expert help, but getting that help changes everything. And many people who are struggling with addiction have spent money or have been unable to achieve, like they've
Hmm.
performed poorly at work because so they haven't gotten that job promotion.
Hmm.
So at some point, it's looking more holistically and not just going, oh, we can't afford it. For some people it's like, we can't afford not to. I had somebody, and this is another, the cost of time. I had somebody I was talking to the other day, and he's like, like I can't go to 90 meetings in 90 days. And I was like, I'll bet for your addiction, you would
Right.
prioritize that. You would be
You
able to
put
find the
lots of
time.
time into that, baby. Yeah.
Yes. And so
Or even
it's,
again, paying the right professional. I've had a lot of people
yes.
give feedback of like, oh my God, I saw a therapist for 6 months and he or she never said these things that you said. I never even knew what betrayal trauma was, or I didn't even, I didn't realize my partner's infidelity was actually possibly an addiction and coming out. And that needs to be dealt with in a very different way if it's in an addictive pattern versus like what I call like a seasonal single incident infidelity. They're two
Yes.
very different scenarios in how you handle them, approach them. So yeah, finding the right expert can actually save you time and money. But it varies. It's hard. It's like I remember when my mom had cancer, it's like you get one go at this and you don't know how to do it. No one told you where to go or what experts to seek out or what questions to ask. And it's life or death. And, that's why I am so proud of these resources because we at least give you like the questions to ask, the things to think about, the places where you can go to armor you with some education and empowerment of how to move through this.
Yeah, and it does make a difference, and it's not the therapist's fault. I mean, they aren't trained; they just don't have the training. And so, a fraction of therapists have any kind of in-depth addiction work, and even fewer have training, in this particular area. I still hear, all the time, people that use codependent language, and really are blame
Mhm.
shifting onto partners, and they're heartbroken, and they don't want to, continue. I'm always grateful that they reach out. They're willing to go, okay, I'm going to try one more time, and they reach out, and we can help point them towards resources that really can. And it's everybody's journey. I mean, I say this all the time. People choose or not choose, and it's their journey. And but wow, I mean, the level of experience and expertise with the resources that we have at people's fingertips. Why would you want to go reinvent the wheel when you don't have your phd and in this, like get the help. And I use the cancer analogy all the time too. It's like, one, if I've got cancer, I want the cancer specialist. I don't want my gp. Great, I love my gp, but I want the person who's going to give me the best opportunity at healing and have the resources and guidance, I appreciate it too, because like, you're talking about self-care at a time of year when the holidays are upon us. We have extra taxing, with our limited, like limited bandwidth. We have so much bandwidth, that's it. And now we can, do things that will give us a little bit more, but we're put in family situations that can be, challenging and traumatic. And we're put in, we've got more things on our plate just because there's more events and more things to do, and, shopping, and, the checklist is, Santa Claus long, because it's, it's the whole thing of the things that we need to do. And I think part of self-care with that is prioritizing even, how important is, like there have been years I didn't get Christmas cards out, and that's okay. Like I had to go, that's okay. That's just where things are this year, and it's okay, and giving myself permission to go, these are things that I really am committed to and are meaningful to me. And I want to do these, and I will figure it out. And then, this is just less important and doesn't have to be done. So I think that's part of self-care too, is identifying, like taking the time to, to not just have it be on the list, but to have it be, is this really something that needs to be done? And do I need to go to that party? And do I need to be with those family people? Or,
Right.
do I need to limit, like I'm going to drive my separate car because like, I can take an hour, so
In case I need to leave. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
okay.
Other thoughts on, like, especially around the holidays, how do we prioritize self-care?
Um, I had other holiday, how to handle this during the holiday videos, but I think as you're approaching, if you're in relationship crisis and you and your partner are still together, I think there has to be purposeful conversations about when we see the family, what are we going to say? How are we going to act? What are they going to know? Let's say the partner also has a substance abuse issue and you're asking them to not drink during the holidays. How are we going to handle that? So again, the military, addiction recovery, it all is about drilling, preparing. The more you talk about it when you're not in your crisis state, when you're in a stable state, and you create rules of engagement, go over contingency plans of, I foresee this coming up. Oh, when we're with your family, this part's going to be triggering. Maybe I should not even go to this event. Or like you said, maybe we need to drive separately in case I'm overwhelmed and exhausted and I don't want to be there anymore. I reserve the right to say goodbye. Things like that. Those are all just, again, professionals can help with those questions because they just kind of have walked through with so many clients through these scenarios. But you can kind of think, what do I foresee being triggering? What does my nervous system tell me? Like what sounds exhausting to me? And what do I need to ask for in response to that?
And I think it's helpful too, if there are safe people, and it doesn't have to be, I'm talking about this situation, but like, this is a safe person that I know I can talk to and we can talk about whatever,
Mhm.
but that's a safe place that I can gravitate towards. I've had a lot of family situations, and one event was as bad as I imagined it could be. Like it was just one, a couple of hours, but it was, and then other things at a different event that I imagined, or projected that could go really badly. They just weren't, they just weren't. I was
Okay.
prepared and I had a plan, but like I can catastrophize things. And so understanding that, I'm ready, I have a plan, and I will execute the plan to whatever level I need. Help me, for me, I practice saying I'm going to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And that was just what I needed to do for me so that I showed up with my best, my best self on, rather than, causing drama. So, anyway. Okay, well, thank you so much, Kristin. This was so helpful. This video will be on Kristin Snowden's YouTube channel, but also on our resources. We've got tons of resources. Debbie McCrae will be on Friday afternoon. with more information for betrayed partners. So reach out to Kristin or to Tammy at Seeking Integrity. We are happy to help and give you guidance and support whatever we can. So have a fantastic holiday season. I'm so
Yes, thank you.
grateful to see you. All right. Bye-bye,
Thanks for
everyone.
having me.